In 2014, scientists attempt to combat global warming by releasing a climate-controlling chemical, CW7, into the atmosphere. However, this backfires and triggers a new ice age, wiping out most of humanity. The only survivors are aboard a massive high-speed train called Snowpiercer, built by the mysterious Wilford. The train continuously circles the Earth, powered by a perpetual motion engine. Preventing its passengers from freezing, the passengers on the train are segregated, with the elite in the extravagant front cars and the poor crammed into squalid tail compartments overseen by armed guards. 17 years later, in 2031, the people in the tail section, led by Curtis Everett, are living in misery, starving, cramped, and ruled with an iron fist by Wilford's enforcers. Food rations consist of disgusting protein bars, and they are subjected to brutal treatment. Curtis Everett is the reluctant leader, and his mentor Gilliam secretly plan a rebellion to take control of the train. Curtis is joined by Edgar, a young man who sees him as a father figure, and Tanya, whose son Timmy was taken. One day, government official Minister Mason arrives to punish a man named Andrew for a failed rebellion. As punishment, soldiers freeze his arm by sticking it outside the train for several minutes before shattering it with a hammer. The event cements the cruel nature of Wilford's regime. A one-armed man, Gilliam, and a one-legged man indicate that the ruling class has amputated their limbs in the past. However, hidden inside a protein block is a message that reads, "Blood." Curtis takes this as a signal to begin the revolution. Curtis leads an ambush on the guards, believing their guns are empty since no bullets have been fired in years. They overpower the guards, proving Curtis was right. They break into a prison section and find Namgong Min-soo, the train's former security specialist, locked in a cryogenic sleep chamber with his daughter Yona. Namgong is an engineer who designed the train's security doors. He is addicted to a drug called chronol, which he demands as payment for opening each door. Yona, his daughter, is clairvoyant, able to sense people and objects behind doors. Namgong demonstrates his skill by unlocking the first train door, allowing the rebellion to move forward. Curtis and his group move forward from the dark, filthy tail section into the next part of the train. They reach the food production car, where the protein bars are manufactured. Curtis and his group look inside a giant industrial vat where the protein bars are being made. To their horror, they discover that the bars are made from ground-up insects. Curtis is disgusted and horrified when he sees the insects being mashed into a gelatinous substance that is then shaped into the protein blocks. He immediately realizes that this is what the tail section passengers have been eating for years. While revolted, he does not reveal the truth to the others at that moment, likely to keep morale from collapsing. They quickly push forward before the guards can regroup. As they open another door, they find themselves face to face with a group of masked, axe-wielding guards, waiting for them in complete silence. The atmosphere becomes tense as both sides prepare for battle. The soldiers slaughter many rebels in a brutal battle. Suddenly, the train enters a long tunnel, plunging everything into darkness. Wilford's forces, equipped with night vision, massacre more rebels. Minister Mason, the high-ranking official of the train, steps forward. She delivers a speech about order and Wilford's divine rule, mocking the tail section people. Suddenly, she orders the guards to attack, leading to a brutal hand-to-hand battle between the rebels and the heavily armed enforcers. The guards are well-trained and armored, causing heavy casualties among Curtis's people. Just when all hope seems lost, Namgong's daughter, Yona, has an idea. The tail section rebels pass a lit torch from hand to hand, illuminating the area. With the light restored, Curtis and his men regain the upper hand and brutally kill the guards. Curtis fights fiercely but loses Edgar, who is killed before his eyes. Curtis captures Minister Mason, forcing her to guide them through the train. Initially, Mason is arrogant, treating the tail section people as beneath her, but once Curtis holds a knife to her throat, her confidence crumbles. She quickly switches from superiority to begging for her life. She offers to cooperate in exchange for her safety, promising to help them move forward. Mason guides the rebels through several train cars. They pass through a lush greenhouse, filled with fresh vegetables and plants. The tail section survivors, who have lived on disgusting protein bars for years, are shocked to see fresh food being grown while they starved. The group enters a beautiful, high-tech aquarium, showcasing rare fish. Mason offers sushi to Curtis and his group, explaining that sushi is only served twice a year as part of the train's strict balance. This moment shows how Wilford has engineered every aspect of life on the train, deciding even how often people in the front get luxury food. Namgung and Yona recognize a landmark outside and speculate that the ice may be thawing more and more with every year. They reach a school filled with young children, who are being brainwashed to worship Wilford. A cheerful schoolteacher teaches them songs and praises Wilford as a divine savior. This shows how Wilford's rule is maintained not just through violence, but also through psychological control. A bald man brings eggs for the children to celebrate the train's 18th circumnavigation of the Earth. Then the bald man goes to the tail army and shoots them with automatic firearms hidden under the eggs. The captured guards are freed, as is Mason's henchman Franco. The teacher suddenly pulls out a hidden machine gun and starts shooting at the rebels, killing several of them after the school ambush. Curtis and the remaining rebels recapture Mason and continue forward. Franco broadcasts to the classroom his execution of Gilliam, which prompts Curtis to execute Mason in turn. Curtis and the few remaining rebels continue advancing through more extravagant and luxurious train cars. A beauty salon, where upper-class passengers pamper themselves, oblivious to the violence, another sign of extreme luxury, further highlighting the contrast between the front and the tail section. As they move through the sauna car, they are ambushed by Franco the Elder, Wilford's top enforcer. Curtis barely survives, while Franco is left for dead. Gray and Tanya are killed in the fight. Now, only Curtis, Namgung, and Yona remain. Curtis and Namgung finally reach the engine room, the heart of the train. Curtis tells Namgung about the horrors of the early tail section days. People resorted to cannibalism. Curtis himself almost killed and ate a baby, who turned out to be Edgar. But Gilliam stopped him by sacrificing his own arm to feed the people. Curtis wants to confront Wilford for causing such horrors. Namgung reveals that the reason he collected the chronole was to use it as an explosive to escape the train with Yona, believing they can now survive outside. However, before they can act, the engine room door opens, and Wilford's assistant, Claude, pulls Curtis inside, separating him from Namgung and Yona. Inside the engine room, Curtis finally meets Wilford, the mysterious creator of the train. Wilford calmly explains the truth. The entire rebellion was planned. Wilford reveals that he and Gilliam, Curtis's mentor, orchestrated the revolt. Revolts are necessary to maintain balance. Every few years, revolts are allowed to happen to thin the population and keep order on the train. Wilford offers Curtis control. Wilford, now old and tired, tells Curtis that he wants him to take over as the train's new leader. As Curtis struggles with this shocking truth, he notices Timmy, one of the stolen tail section children, inside the engine, forced to manually operate a failing component of the train because spare parts no longer exist. Curtis, filled with rage and guilt, realizes that Wilford sees people as nothing more than replaceable machine parts. While Wilford tries to convince him to take control, Curtis sees Timmy struggling under the floor. In a moment of self-sacrifice, Curtis saves Timmy by sticking his own arm into the machinery to jam it, finally losing his arm, symbolically overcoming his guilt over past cannibalism. At the same time, Namgung detonates the chronole bomb, blowing open the train's side. The explosion triggers an avalanche, which derails the entire train, killing almost everyone inside. Curtis, Wilford, and most of the remaining passengers die in the crash. Yona, Namgung's daughter, and Timmy, the rescued child, are the only survivors. They step outside into the snowy wilderness and see a polar bear in the distance, proving that life still exists outside and that the Earth may be warming up. The movie ends with Yona and Timmy facing an uncertain future, but with hope for a new beginning. If you enjoyed diving deep into the story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated.